Time to start one of your kids on their audio journey, or just looking to add music to a room for some casual listening on a really tight budget? I may just have the answer for you. Stay tuned. Hi everyone, Mark from Audio Pursuit. Thanks for spending a little bit of time with me today. I know there's an endless supply of worthy things for you to watch on YouTube alone, if not do in the outside world. So I am humbled that you spend this time with me. If you're familiar with Vera-Fi Audio's magical mid-range $299 a pair Vanguard Scout speakers, or the LSA Signature 80s, then the Rangers are going to surprise you. They are a wake up and hear the top end sound. In many ways, it reminds me of Focal's budget speakers, as well as Paradigm models. There is no fear in reproducing the upper note sparkle. At the same time, for $149 a pair, there is some serious clarity in the notes without being painfully strident. The Rangers come in a compact 12-inch high by 6.75 inches wide and 9.5 inches deep cabinet with a nicely done vinyl oak finish, a medium color that may just remind you of either a cherry stain or a traditional oak floor with that hint of orange. A really neat feature is that the small port is located on the front between the side of the tweeter and the driver. This means these little speakers can easily be set up on a bookshelf or close against a wall without the adverse effects of a rear port. Though in my case, I did bring them out about 15 inches from the front wall where I found my personal satisfaction in my room. But once again, you want to play around to hit your own personal nirvana. The tweeter is a nice soft dome, while the driver is a coated paper material. As you can see, kind of has a pretty healthy sheen to it. The grille is a dark brown color rather than black, and it has the old style plastic tabs rather than magnets. Around back is just a simple 5-way binding post. However, I do appreciate the fact that the posts, like many budget models, is tilted about a 2 o'clock angle, thus allowing for banana plugs to be set in nicely and not fall out. Like the Scout, there's 4 rubber tabs attached to the bottom. For many, that will prevent some scratching on the bottom. The tabs also get a better grip connection to the surface below it, so they won't slide around. Since the Rangers arrived to me from my mentor Jeff Dorgay at Tone Audio, they were already broken in. Therefore, I just set them up on my Celestion SI stands and took my first listen, powered by the Ever-Solo Play at 60 watts per channel into 8 ohms or 110 watts into 4 ohms. The Rangers are listed as a 4 ohm speaker. After a couple of days, I plugged in the Veri-fi Vanguard Caldera 12 subwoofer. A bit of overkill, yes. And after adjusting for a nice fuller sound and using the crossover cutoff feature in the Ever-Solo, it definitely made the listening time more enjoyable and fuller. Now, personally, I would bet that most people who desire bass capability when initially purchasing the Rangers will probably opt to add in the Caldera 10 subwoofer at $199. Therefore, for $350, you have a really fun little setup for a 2.1 system. Shifting to the Winamp Ultra, the openness of the ESS 9039 Q2M DAC chip, as well as the Texas Instruments Class D amplification, there was definitely a few songs that were a bit too bright for me without going into the app and turning down the treble a bit. Now, is this a deal breaker? By no means. All truly budget speakers have their limitations, and as many of us who grew up with bass and treble controls on the receivers from the old days, where speakers were far more limited in their capabilities, that ability to increase or decrease was not a big deal. After several days, I swapped in my reference components, consisting of the Galleon TSA-75 amplifier with its rich, lush Class AB solid-state sound at 75 watts per channel into 8 ohms, though it always seems to feel like it's pushing out another 40 per channel. Along with the amplifier's tuned, fuller bass sound, and then adding in the Denafrips Aries 2 DAC with its resistor ladder design added even slightly more rounded touch to the upper frequencies than even the Ever Solo Play. Of course, this is a bit much on the electronics for these absolute budget bookshelves. But still, hearing what they're capable of with quality amplification and an off-board DAC showed that the Rangers can pull out details that no $150 pair of speakers should be able to do. But that's the beauty of trickle-down effect of speaker design that's come forth in the past 20 years. Thank you to Andrew Jones for resetting the bar higher. The stereo imaging, especially involving the various percussion instruments playing between the channels, is the Ranger's standout feature. They have the ability to give quality separate channel sound. This becomes especially true with traditional small jazz ensembles. The Rangers just have a knack with this genre that makes these artists come alive. Take a listen to any one of your favorites and you'll definitely hear it. Now, if there's one genre on the opposite end that I didn't feel for myself was a good match, it was the European electronic dance music. Even when I hooked these up to my Vista Audio integrated tube amplifier, the sharpness of the treble was just honestly too much for my ears and in my room without having to do some serious tonal adjustments. Now, if I had full thick carpet floors, heavy curtains, a lot of upholstered furniture, and a higher ceiling, then maybe it would work. But it's only fair to say that Rangers, like all budget speakers, have their limits. And this was the Rangers Waterloo. But remember, I'm talking about one genre of music. A phenomenal option for powering the Rangers in a minimalist setup would be to invest in the Vera-Link Bluetooth amplifiers that attach with Velcro to the back of the speaker. Just plug in the banana cables into the binding posts, connect the off-board brick power supply to the wall, and connect the phone via Bluetooth. I use the setup in my large living room where my wife and I read as we enjoy background music. The Rangers Vera-Link combo was a perfect, inexpensive, unobtrusive solution. For parents wanting to have their teens enjoy music in a recreation room without sacrificing limited shelving or counter space, this pairing makes sense. When I mentioned what I'd done with this setup to Mark Shifter, the head of Veri-fi Audio, he mentioned that anyone who buys both the Rangers and the Vera-Links takes $50 off the regular $199 price for the pair of the Vera-Links. So for $298, the purchaser is set, or when you add in the Caldera sub, you end up at $497 for a terrific, simple 2.1 solution. One characteristic I look for in the under $500 range of speakers is how individualized multiple instruments sound when put together. Firefall's Strange Way track. The synthesizer doesn't overwhelm, even though in parts of the song it is the main instrument. The lead vocals are pitched a bit high, but it didn't become unpleasant in the least, even during the chorus. While the drum roll in the background started the second verse, didn't disappear either. It had a nice spot, slightly back a bit and dead center. The Temptations classic, Papa Was a Rolling Stone, was so well recreated, it became my favorite track for rock music, listening through the Rangers. There really was a nice balance, as well as just an appropriate amount of total character. And the chorus, once again, was set back just right in the soundstage. Second was the Zombies' Time of the Season, for all the same reasons. The Rangers truly shined at 1960s popular rock music, considering that these were mostly 6 to 8 channel stereo recordings. It doesn't really make any sense for any particular reason, but it sure was fun. Obviously, when it comes to very budget speakers, there are going to be sacrifices made in the sonic performance. However, basic engineering doesn't have to be one of them. The value of the Rangers is that the components used were not selected by blindfolding the designer and having them throw darts at a parts catalog. The crossover itself is light years ahead of what we saw in speakers in the last 2 decades of the 20th century. The Rangers are a perfect example of what happens when the designer says, I have X amount of money to spend, and I'm going to find the best matching components for that price. Therefore, without reservation, I can recommend the Veri-fi Audio Rangers for those looking to start their journey or for a casual listening environment. Hats off to Veri-fi Audio for once again bringing to the market another worthy budget product. Once again, I want to thank all of you for taking out some time of your day to watch this review. And if you've liked what I've had to say in this or any of my other reviews, please hit the like and subscribe button. This really helps out with me being able to go to manufacturers and request more products for review. So until next time, find a really great piece of music you haven't listened to in a while. Tune out the outside world. Just get lost in the music. Take care.